So today we're at the AI for Good Summit in Geneva, and we're lucky enough to have with us Cecilia Laschi, who is at the National University at Singapore. On Digital Talk, we spotlight entrepreneurs, leaders and innovators using digital tech and telecoms to drive global impact in a changing world. Uncovering the unexpected, spotlighting hidden gems, and sharing inspiring stories that shine a light on the most transformative corners of our industry. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So would you kind enough to introduce yourself briefly and tell us about the work you're doing around soft robotics? And
Yes.
What is soft robotics?
That's my research field. I consider myself a roboticist, but a few years ago, I actually moved my research interest towards the body of robots, the way we build robots. And I started investigating the use of soft materials because there are many good reasons to add some compliance, some deformability to robot bodies. So they can be more effective in natural environments. They can be more efficient like animals are.
Right. So we're sort of mimicking sort of real life and robots? Is there
Yeah,
some...
but I started with an extreme model, which is the octopus, which is completely soft. So an excellent model for soft robotics, of course, but for robotics in general, because they can do a lot of things. So they can walk underwater, they can swim, they can grasp and manipulate objects. So all interesting functions for robots.
Wow, that's incredible. And here at the event, you've had a talk and gave a talk on soft robotics for good, and it says here, from marine species to ocean conservation.
Yes, because taking inspiration from marine species and the octopus specifically, we can build robots that can go into the oceans in a sustainable way. They can explore the sea bottom, which is largely unexplored. And it's very, very interesting and important for ocean conservation. It's, home of 98% of marine species. It's where the human activities happens. It's where pollutants concentrate. So it's very important to go there.
Today's episode is sponsored by IFG Consulting Europe, who help operators to tap into technologies to accelerate digitization of the network, drive revenues, and reduce costs by championing promising software providers. Go to ifgconsultingeurope.com to find out more.
And what have people been able to do up to now without your technology in that sense? Where have the limits been, and how does this take to the next level?
The underwater robots we have, they're very helpful, but they basically navigate the water column. So they stay in the water. They don't go down to the sea bottom because it's a bit dangerous for them and also for the life there, for the corals, for example. Because it's a completely different kind of technologies. They are vehicles, so they navigate the water. Studying the octopus, we learn how we can really approach the sea bottom gently. We learn how we can walk on the sea bottom and really explore it.
Are there any particular sort of depths that you're going to? Because I imagine octopuses are not found in the deepest parts, or is their intention to go everywhere?
Yeah, everywhere. Actually, the animal itself, there are many species, and you can find them in any seas, in any oceans, and different depths. So it's pretty multifunctional.
And so I presume these robots have got sensors as well and capabilities. So you're collecting data. So at some point you need to somehow collect that data. Is that?
Yeah, but not only data, because there are also some physical operations we need to do on the water. For example, one thing that looks like very simple but it's not is taking samples of sediments. And we could do that, and it was especially look for microplastics. And other operations are bringing down lab-grown corals, which is done manually now by divers, but of course there are limitations in their operativity, or even seeding the seagrass. In some places, seagrass is reducing, like Singapore, so it's important to bring it back.
So in my head, I've got this idea of these octopus, these soft robots are active in the ocean now, delivering. Do you then have, let's say, like I don't know, like a herd of them, or I don't know, what is the term for a herd? Lots of octopuses. Are they called octopi? I don't know. Is it octopi? Octopi. So there's an octopi going down as a whole group, and you seed them with.
Yeah, actually, that's my dream. This is where I'm working now. So I don't have the final, products.
Okay.
I'm a scientist in the university. So what we produce are prototypes. So we test them, and our current research is in producing some. Small robots built completely with biodegradable materials. So what we want to do is to deploy many of them, as you say, and they can do these operations that I mentioned, and then we can program the duration of their life.
Oh, I see. So these deployed and never recovered.
Exactly. So that's my dream. It's not yet done,
right.
But this is the research I'm doing now.
You remind me of something I heard the other day where someone was building a human tissue, but not using plastics, because they said that's the current, or has been the current state of play. So that might be interesting relationship worth bringing onto board. So I think we've covered the sort of the real world impact. So you're helping the environment, as well as collecting data and data samples as well. So if we move on to where do you see, the soft robots moving in the next 5 to 10 years? Where are we going to be at that point in time? And will we move beyond the octopus?
Well, the field is pretty young. And starting with the octopus, there were so many challenges, but that was very good for research. And there is a whole community of scientists around soft robotics, and each of us take different approaches because we had to develop technologies from scratch, completely from scratch.
Right.
So we now have a lot of different possible solutions, different possible actuators for soft robots, different sensors, different control systems. So the field is very, very prolific, and I think it's ready to address real problems and applications, and I see the biomedical field as one of them. If you think of a patient or something, going inside the human body or even outside helping to move or something like that, soft robotics technologies are a good fit.
Right. Okay.
And also some kind of industry, some manipulation tasks, for example, the food industry or agriculture, where you have to manipulate objects that are fragile, but also they have different shapes. So with a soft gripper, soft arm, you can better adapt to the object itself.
Okay, so in that sense, there seems to be, I can imagine, quite a lot. And to what extent, you mentioned you've got control functions, AI. What role do you see AI playing in?
A lot, because controlling soft robots with traditional techniques, which are based on models of the robots, is a bit more difficult, because it's more difficult to have precise, accurate models of the soft robots, because they deform a lot, they deform under external forces, so it's a bit more complicated. Not impossible, but there is a lot of math. So if we use AI, if we use learning techniques, it's, in a sense, easier to develop controllers for them.
Is this your first time at the AI for Good Summit? And, what are you hoping to achieve by coming to the event and presenting yourself? Are there other people in your field that a good place to meet for you?
Yeah, actually, it's my first time to be here in person. I gave a talk online a couple of years ago. And I love this, the full organization of AI for Good. And I was so happy to be invited to be here at the summit in person. And I hope to have what I had today. So meeting very interesting people and also listening to discussions about a use of technology which is really aimed at good and ethical, sustainable purposes, and also I hope I can have some inspiration on how to guide the development of technology, my own technology, in my own research.
Well, I think you an interesting point where we're bringing together here the people who on the one side are practically, using AI and technologies around it, and then you've got the regulators and then businesses as well. So it's a good melting pot, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as a technology developer myself, again, I'm really eager to have some directions, some
guide rails is one of the words people have been throwing.
Exactly. I think robotics is today at this point we cannot go on by ourselves.
Okay. And I've heard it mentioned a few times that people say the people of today being born are born into the world of AI. It's like they're for forever now. So I think that's an interesting statement. But do you have any advice to younger people in your experience and what you're doing, and maybe a good opportunity to get the next generation interested in your area of work as well, related to trying to help make sure the planet is okay as well, and that we do our best.
My recommendation to the young people is, I suggest them to really understand how this technology works. So not just being users. Of course, they should be skilled users, and they are, but they should really understand how it works. And the future is in their hands. So they should be the ones that develop the technology of the future. So they need to understand how it works, what are the implications, and steer the progress into the good directions.
So do you have a team working with you now?
Of course, yes. In a university, normally the teams are composed of students, PhD students mostly. For research, I have some postdocs. So, and they are so creative. They have wonderful ideas and also very, very strong principles on the use of technology.
So out of the postdocs, is there one particular theme which you think is way out there or a bit different, out of curiosity?
What do you mean?
Well, it's like you mentioned you've got several postdocs working for you. My student days, I was never made it to becoming a doctor, even postdoc. But normally you have to come up with a theme which is one relevant and you can research. So just wondering, out of the researching you're doing, there's one particular area that you're very proud of, or one of your postdocs where you go, well, that's actually shining a light, or something a bit different that is not under the normal sort of postdoc.
Yeah, what I like is research that, goes a bit outside of the mainstream. Yeah. So I'd like to propose something that is a new concept, a bit provocative, but this is in the fundamental research side. At the same time, in parallel, I also like addressing real problems and develop robots that can serve some purposes. In the biomedical field, I'm working on assistance to the elderly. I'm working for some cleaning tasks. So I like both directions, and I think you should, fuel both in university.
I think you've sort of preempted one of the next questions I wanted to ask, which was, out of your own field of study, are there any particular other pressing areas that you think we should be addressing as priority in the world related to trying to improve things?
Yeah, I think something that we are not considering enough is the use of energy that our technologies are doing. So I see a sort of waste of energy. Of course, there is also a lot of waste which is more material, more physical, like the e-waste that we are producing with the digital technologies. So I see a lot of space for improvement there. We should really go for technologies that are more sustainable. And, the use of energy is very much related to the computation that we do, because we think computation is for free. It is not. So it uses a lot of energy. We're not optimizing this in the device that we use daily. So that's a very big step that we should all do in all technological fields. So reducing the energy, reducing computing, and then reducing energy, and then using more sustainable materials and reduce e-waste.
Yes, I think that's a good point. I think people somehow think it's for free, and
It's not.
on tap, if you like, and as much as you like, but like every resource is limited.
You write an email, you add someone in CC, and you think it's for free, but it generates pollution.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Well, one of the things we like to do on our podcast, because it is supposed to be a positive podcast, is to give the opportunity to do a shout out. So a shout out is recognizing someone or a group of people or authority that have been doing good, you think, and are worth mentioning. Do you have someone in mind?
Well, of course, I wouldn't mention AI for good because they are doing great and it's already several years.
Yes.
So I think this is a big contribution.
Yes, and I agree with you. Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, and thank you for joining us. And you're now part of the Digital Talk community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate us and subscribe, and feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. And if you have comments or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email. Thanks for being part of the Digital Talk community and for listening. Stay tuned.